So we've got a number of possibly unique challenges. I think language, we've got 11 official languages plus sign language. So a lot of different languages and a lot of a diversity of cultures. We're a melting pots of Africa, essentially. And I think the other issue is health literacy and patient responsibility. We have a health charter in South Africa that encourages the rights, but also the responsibilities of patients. And I think one of the challenges is encouraging patients to take up their responsibilities, and rather than that just falling on a few champions or certain, patient support groups, it's trying to encourage and get all patients to kind of stand up and take up their rightful place and their rights, but also the responsibilities that come along with that. And of course, there's a huge area for capacity building and training to actually help people understand, break down the language barriers, but also the jargon barriers in terms of not being intimidated by all these fancy terms and scientific terms, and ultimately understanding that a lot of the experts and the scientists just wrap it up with a new language and also and almost make it seem unattainable. Whereas if we can break that down and break that barrier down so that patients can take an equal place at the table and be seen for the lay experts that they are, and to bring that expertise into an equal place and an equal standing around the table as a stakeholder and as effectively the most important stakeholder in this whole scenario as the health user.
Well, I can't say it's a barrier because I'm already in the process. But what I like to see is that more patients to get involved in the process. I mean, when you say process, it can mean a lot of things. But what I want to say is that the process, we can still improve on the process, get more patients involved in decision making, not just me, but other patients as well, when it comes to their own technologies.
I think there is still a lack of value. So many HTA staff and leadership, they still don't understand the value of patient involvement. So we probably need to do a better work to convince people about the importance of patient involvement so they can really have this process part of their work, and to keep working to improve this process. So patient engagement is not just a checklist, it's really meaningful and authentic.
Barriers would be making patients aware that these decisions are taking place. Also barriers probably are in HTA agencies and researchers being open to patient involvement. And finally, a barrier would be time and resources for patients themselves to take part.
I think the greatest barriers are that we need to get people working together to do this type of work. We've got all these stakeholders and they're all sort of working independently, but if we want to get patients and advocates and everyone involved to generate evidence, we need to get the people to work together, and at the moment that is happening a little bit, but not enough, and we need to solve that.
Yeah, the greatest barrier to patient and patient group involvement in HTA is just knowledge. So just patients and patient organizations understanding the entire concept of HTA and its starting point and its end point. We always get involved too late when tensions are very, very high. There's lots of jeopardy in the system, and we expect patients and patient organizations to pull rabbits out of hats. And we give them the impression that if they get it right and they communicate the value of a new drug and the unmet need, then somehow it's going to be a yes. If we don't, it will be a no. And that's really, really inappropriate and unethical and unfair. So I think that patients and patient organizations lack the necessary knowledge to understand the entire definition of HTA in order to impact on it appropriately. I think in some jurisdictions as well, there aren't equal opportunities for patients to get involved directly in the HTA process. So then they need to understand what can they do out with the process to try and impact on the decision. So that could be things like persuading the drug company to give a discount, for example. It could be getting alignment with clinicians and patient organizations and patient representatives about the uncertainties. So then subsequently, the drug company in articulating the uncertainties and defending them also take the patient and clinician perspective into the room. One of the big barriers is not having a legitimate access to the actual appraisal and having to understand how to impact it outside. And then the third thing, I guess, and there's a long list of kind of barriers, is resources and time. Patient organizations can often be one or two people working from a kitchen table, in all kinds of remote locations in the world. They often work full time. So to have not just the knowledge, but the resources and the time and the financial resources to participate in an appraisal fully can be really, really a massive barrier.
Complex question. I would say there are many barriers, just as many as there are opportunities. But I would say that it's the lack of understanding of what HTA is and how patients can be useful and relevant in that process. So that's why we are in Europe having some kind of trainings called, as far as we are concerned, the EU Kappa training, where we teach patients what is HTA, how they can be involved, the different specificities, and we train them to appraise the evidence and to analyze that in an unbiased manner and in almost, let's say, scientific way.
I think that Australia's HTA processes have been very conservative in adapting to the way that things are increasingly being done around the world. And we just need to be a little bit more innovative. But we also need to make sure that we are properly resourcing patient organisations because we know, particularly in the rare disease space, that often these are organisations where they actually exist that are run on the top of a kitchen table with virtually no resources. And so we need to make sure that patients are empowered with the resources to actually be able to make an input.